Robinah Nabbanja has called on the public to boycott highly priced fuels in the market. But is it possible in a small market of fuel providers for fuel to get cheaper by the instant? Tonight on The Spot, we host Uganda's State Minister for ICT and National Guidance, Godfrey Kabyanga-Baluku, who is a member of cabinet and a key spokesperson for the government. Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga, thank you so much for having honored our invitation. A warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, Patrick.
It's the first time I'm meeting you after being appointed minister, so congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Thank
you. Now, we have a problem today, and that is because of the lack of fuel, the crisis for fuel. But what I see from this problem, Honorable Kabyanga, is that lack of strategy from a government that you speak for, where you're a minister of information. Because how can a government where you serve lack strategy to prepare for an eventuality like this? Because you should be having reserves, you should be, preparing for something like this. You don't have any strategy, do you?
The strategy is there because we have reserves, but this is something which came abruptly, and probably it overstretched our reserves, because we have reserves at least which can last about 10 days. But obviously it came so abruptly, and it overstretched our reserves. But otherwise, government has all the strategy, and you also know that we have liberalized the fuel, the oil industry. It's now in the private hands. We are no longer controlling demand and supply. Forces just work out.
Wait a minute. You're talking about reserves that can only run us for 10 days. Really? A serious country, reserves for 10 days. We consume more than 6 million liters of fuel every day. Diesel, petrol, kerosene, and jet one. And yet the reserves in ginger can only give us 30 million liters. So how can a serious government in which you serve have a reserve for only 10 days? In fact, you are using a facility that was built by another government 36 years down the road. Couldn't you have expanded it?
We obviously liberalized the oil industry. That reserve of ginger holds about 30 million liters, but there are also other storage facilities by the private sector. And
yeah, but you ought to have your own facility, a government facility, in times of a crisis where you can run to, because it's one strategic thinking that you need to know that if you have a crisis, this is where you can run to. You cannot run to a private player. You are a government. You have a responsibility and a role to play.
Yeah, but
but that role is not being seen by you playing it as we expect you.
But even
because the people of Uganda deserve better.
But even the private sector complements the government. So we have reserves, and we, just as you have rightly said, it can hold 30 liters. But we also have reserves by the private sector, which can hold about 100 liters, 100 million liters. So the strategy is there, and we are planning now to build another reserve.
How much are they supposed to have in the reserve that can run them for how long? I mean, what is the capacity of the reserve? Who ensures that the private sector actually they have reserves and they have the capacity maybe to move them for some days? And what happened to their reserves?
This is business, obviously. This is business. They must have enough fuel to take them for some days. We also have our reserves in ginger, which can take us, say, for about 10 days. So we should all work together with the private sector.
So have you, we have as government ensured that the players who are in the oil sector have those reserves? They have the capacity to move those reserves, to move them for their supply for the next 10 days or so. Because it's one thing to say they have reserves, they are mandated to do so, but implementing that requirement could be zero.
That one is there, but you should know, Patrick, that this is something which came abruptly. Even if you say we should maintain reserves, obviously they keep using, the fuel consumption is high, and obviously even if someone has reserves, he keeps getting from those reserves.
Yeah, but yes. It is abrupt, yes, but this is why I'm saying if you're strategic in thinking and planning, you prepare for a day like this, that something can happen and probably it's out of your control, and this is how you're going to mitigate it.
We prepared, but you know, even if you prepare, it can go beyond your preparation, your preparation target.
Honorable Kabyanga, where is the preparation when the Ministry of Health is issuing a requirement for people to test, and that requirement is resulting in crippling the economy without talking to other sectors of government? It appears there's uncoordinated movement of government agencies, departments and ministries.
First of all, it was not the first time drivers were testing. It was not the first time, because testing has been there. And Patrick, you know that testing has been there. But this time, when the Minister of Health gave a directive that the test, the certificate you have should only take 72 days, the drivers went on strike.
So, but did the government, did you who speaks for government,
testing has been there.
Were you aware that the Minister of Health had issued that directive for the requirement of 72 hours? Is that something that was discussed at cabinet level? Because it's affecting the economy, it's affecting everybody. Or that is only something that was done by the...
Everything doesn't need to be discussed by cabinet, because Minister of Health is the one concerned with the issue of monitoring the spread of COVID. And there are so many guidelines which have been issued by Minister of Health. And when this Omicron came in, Minister of Health realized that spreading so fast, and therefore that's why they came in with that.
Can they take that decision without other sectors of government getting involved, because it's affecting livelihoods, it's affecting the economy, and the whole country is brought to its knees because of just one decision? Isn't it better for the Minister of Health when they are taking a decision with a business mind, that the decision we're taking is going to affect the economy, it's going to affect the livelihoods, and so there is a whole government, you know, moving in one direction and saying this is our decision, because it appears the government is working in silos.
But everything Minister of Health is doing it on behalf of government. And obviously, all those decisions are discussed at some level, because there are committees concerned with monitoring COVID-19 spread.
So the suspension of the requirement for the drivers to test that the Prime Minister has announced is actually telling us that that was an error in judgment on the side of the ministry.
You may call it an error of judgment, but first of all, they were trying to see how they can curtail the spread. And Uganda has been fighting very hard to stop the spread of COVID-19. That's why we have had fewer deaths. And that one you should appreciate, first of all.
Well, I just want to I just want to give you an example of the Republic of Tanzania.
But now,
I want to give you an example, sir, of the Republic of Tanzania that was never in a panic mode like we are. They did not go into the lockdown that we did, never closed their schools, and I do not think we are any better than them anyway.
And unfortunately, you don't even know the statistics of how many people died in Tanzania, because they even locked out information about the deaths. Is that what you want for this country? that we should keep quiet about something.
So when you test
Yes.
at the border in Malaba or Motukula, wherever it is, and the driver tests positive when he has driven to Kasese, Fort Porto to Kabale, so what happens? What's the whole idea of testing if you're not going to quarantine, if you're not going to lock them down, if you're not going to do contact tracing?
Obviously, when you test and we find you positive, then you will not enter Uganda. You will not. But that one is a guideline.
But you know, the tests are done and the results are not given immediately because they are giving you later when somebody has already moved. You receive the results later.
Yeah, those at one time when the results were not being given promptly, there were guidelines that a driver shouldn't stop anywhere. There were specific places where they were supposed to stop. So they were under some sort of monitoring till you get your results. You should also know that at one time there are some drivers who were eventually found positive, and the government had to pick them.
Yeah, that is when it was making sense. That's when it was making sense, because you could follow them up, you could do contact tracing and all that. But today it does not, because somebody tested and he moves. And the results come later. So I'm wondering why. I'll give an example.
Yes.
There is somebody who tested at Entebbe International Airport, having stayed for maybe 3 weeks in the US and other parts of Europe, and then he lands and he pays the $30 and they test, and then he comes. Up to now, 3 weeks later, results of that individual have never been given to him.
I don't know whether that's true, because
I can tell you the individual, because he's been on record. I'm talking about the executive director of Great Lakes Safaris, Amos Wekesa. He tested at Entebbe International Airport after arriving there. 3 weeks down the road, Amos has never received his results for testing.
I don't know why he hasn't received, because as ICT we have even developed a tool where you can access your results immediately.
So, Honorable Kabyanga, what's the rationale of testing if people are not even going to get their results?
That one I can't tell you now, but for us to have put their measures now, where you test and wait for your results. But that's not what happened. That was not the cause of the fuel crisis. Because here the cause was drivers didn't want to pay the $30. They thought it was too much for them.
So now
it was not an issue of delayed results. It was an issue of
no. I'm asking about the results, because what I know that you test the drivers, they drive into the society. And then the results are given to them later. What is the purpose? Because they have already mingled with Ugandans.
I have told you that if you have not yet received your results, we can't allow you to mix with society, because we have specific places where you should park. And we can't allow you to park anywhere and mingle with society till you have got your results. But I think the fuel crisis was totally different, because the drivers were saying, we have tested in Kenya, we have negative results. Why should we again test when we enter Uganda? That was that I think was the problem. It was not an issue of delaying delayed results. It was an issue of why should I test when I already have a certificate showing I'm negative. So
there has been a delay of over 10 days. For every truck you see there, every fuel tank you see there, the Ugandan importer has to, pay more money every day. I'm told about $200 every day of delay. And Honorable Kabyanga, that money is going to, that load is going to be offloaded on the Ugandan consumer.
It's very unfortunate that that has happened, but it was not intended to be like that. We are trying to see how we can protect Ugandans from getting affected by people who we are not sure are okay. But it's very unfortunate that it came to that. But you should also know, it was due actually to that strike, where drivers said, "This we can't pay another $30 when we have already tested."
Well, I can agree it was due to a strike, but also due to a lack of strategic planning on the part of Ugandan government.
I don't know what type of strategic planning you are talking about, because here we are trying to protect Ugandans. We are trying to protect Ugandans health-wise.
We are using trucks, for example.
And then another issue comes up.
The fuel is coming from Kisumu, from Edlole to Kisumu, really. And Kisumu is just connected to here, to Gaba and Luzira, by a water body, which has the capacity to give you more, to bring more fuel than using the road transport. For heaven's sake, for a government that is strategic, if fuel is in Kisumu, why would you be using trucks to go all around?
But first of all, who is transporting the fuel? They are the marketing companies. This fuel doesn't belong to government. We have liberalized the economy and we have given people the freedom to do business. And the marketing companies are transporting their fuel.
The part of fuel is such a, it has a security, a national security, connotation. You cannot say I've just given out only to the private players, because it has an element of national security.
So what do you want us to do? We have said, okay, our economy now is liberalized. People should do business. We don't want to go into each and everything as government. You're getting me? And business was okay till the strike came in. So why do you want us to go into again?
If you had a functioning railway line that can carry more than maybe a number of these trucks, it would help. If you had a ferries plying that route between Kisumu and here in Luzira.
We are working on our, we are now working on that.
How?
We are now working on that.
Which one?
Very soon. We are rehabilitating the railway line, and so that we can go back to that. But at the moment, most of our fuel is still coming by road.
You see, previous governments seem to have had strategic thinking, because you just want to rehabilitate what was already there. Yet after 36 years in power, we would be at another level. You have moved, yes, but we ought to be somewhere else better. Because what you want to do is what somebody did, 50, 40 years ago, only that now you're realizing that, after all, they were right all along.
Yes, but...
so why did you let it go down?
But the previous government also didn't work on the roads. And roads are even faster, though more expensive. And we are saying now, we should move step by step.
There has always been a road from Nairobi to Kampala.
But not good roads. So what we are saying is, now we want to see how we can now rehabilitate the rail so that both road and rail are working and complementing one another. But the roads are now okay. Fuel is being transported by road, but now we want also to start working on the rail.
So, as somebody who speaks for government, as of today, tonight, where do we stand in this crisis? Where are we?
I think as of today, the impasse has been sorted out. The clearing of trucks has started. Government has waived off the $30, and now trucks have started entering. Kenya Railways and the Kenya Revenue Authority and Uganda Revenue Authority are working tirelessly to ensure they clear the trucks so that we can have enough fuel. Most of the marketing companies have started receiving their supply, and I strongly believe in the next 1 week we shall have enough fuel. and obviously as soon as there is enough supply, the prices will go down. But we also suspect that there might have been even a supply which would have taken us for some time. But obviously, probably some people, because of speculating, went into hoarding. So that can also
what
be
explains
there.
that in a distance of maybe 500 meters, you could see two petrol stations with such huge disparity in prices, and yet we know the source is the same, the encumbrances are the same, and they're in the same city, but such disparities.
I think some a bit of speculation. You can look
so
at
as the government, you stand by and watch and let it happen?
Obviously, as government, you saw the Minister of Energy. You have also seen the Prime Minister directing that we shouldn't go beyond the 5,000 shillings. But if you look at the traditional companies, which have obviously huge storage, like Total, like Shell, they maintained because I'm a customer of Total and Shell, and Shell, for instance, diesel didn't go beyond I think petrol didn't go beyond 5,000. Diesel was even lower. It didn't go beyond 4,000.
Honorable
Yes.
Godfrey Kabyanga,
Yes.
hold on to your point, sir, because we're going to take a break, and on the spot we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guest tonight is Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga Baluku, Minister of State for ICT and National Guidance, also government spokesperson, on discussing the crisis, the fuel crisis in Uganda. I have come to understand there is a Ugandan investor who is now building a cargo ship, a fuel ship or a barge to transport fuel or oil from Kisumu to Kawuku in Entebbe with huge capacity, and they're building a depot there. And yet, you who's been talking about building roads, I have not seen any effort since there is you would want to help local investors to build a road to where that investment is, because it would maybe reduce traffic on that road by about 50%. Mahave Infra.
No, we are going to build a road up to his place, and that one will be done.
You're aware that the local investors put in over $200 million that is even hard to get from a
oh yes.
And the last time I checked,
but why did he come? Because Uganda is stable and is investment friendly. That's why he came. Why don't you first thank us for that? He has come because there is a good investment climate.
the last time I checked,
he didn't just come. He didn't come on his own.
Is actually local Ugandan, but
yes.
but the pain of these Ugandans who are putting up these investments is that government has neglected not even to put a road or even the line minister to visit a facility worth $200 million.
Even if he's a local Ugandan, is getting courage to invest all that money because of a good investment climate, and we are going to get him a road. That one will be done, and Minister of Works is working on that.
You know,
yes.
When simple things like rehabilitation of a railway it gives you a headache, I wonder that some of the promises you make as government, really, whether you can make good on the promise.
The rehabilitation of the railway is not giving us any headache. We are going to do it, and we are going to work on that road to that.
You know, the railway we have
that investment
is obsolete, it's junk, and our wagons.
And that's what we are going to. That's why we are rehabilitating it. We are starting with the meter gauge.
You know, Honorable Kabyanga, you understand next Wednesday, next week, the NRM government will be making 36 years in power. And the best you can tell us in 36 years is to rehabilitate something that you found that you neglected?
You mean you don't see any other thing that we have done? You are now looking at only the railway.
The sector of transport.
Sector of transport. Do you know how many roads we have paved? How many kilometers? Why don't you first thank us for that? Then you can bring those other challenges.
I see here in Kampala, majority of the roads are not even paved.
Can you first identify?
I see here in Kampala, majority of the roads are actually not even paved.
Why don't you thank us for paving your road from Chenjojo to Fort Portal? First thank us for that. You know, you should first thank someone, and then you can go into
the story of that road. If I tell you, it started in 1988, and I think they ended it in 2000. It was the slowest pace I can never.
Reputation of change on the Fort Portal.
No, even creating this road from Mitiana for having a tarmac road.
Be serious. Be serious about this. Yes, yes. Be serious about this. You can't say in 36 years because the railway has not been rehabilitated, then we have done nothing. Not at all.
So we have
not at all. In the transport sector, we have done a lot.
God placed us in one of the best spots on the continent, or even in the world. Our city is just right on the lake, Lake Victoria, that is shared by Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya. And Kenya is bringing fuel by. There is a pipeline up to Eldoreti, from Eldoreti to Kisumu. Really, the best thing to do, even just to make sure that our roads are safe from these trucks, is to ensure there's water transport that is robust from Kisumu to either Masaka or Kisumu to here, to Entebbe, or Kisumu to Luzira.
I think
as simple as that. So that you don't even need to have trucks on that road, which are going to destroy our roads.
As soon as the railway line is rehabilitated, then the rest will fall suit. Because from Kisumu to Jinja, we must have a railway to bring the fuel to Kampala. That one will be done.
So the Ugandans will be waiting to know maybe when they can have their own oil. Because after all, we have waited for this oil for as long as they can remember. And it's always looking like
2025, 26, you will have it. Because you can see work is going on. And you are the one who has even been moving around, bringing us very good pictures. Now you are also doubting Ugandan. So you yourself, Patrick, you have been going to the field, taking all the documentaries, and you should now be the one even informing Ugandans that there is work in progress. Yeah. Now you are doubting Ugandans. So what about those ones who have not visited?
I'm not just a doubting.
Who have not visited the site and who have not seen work in progress?
I have seen, because by earlier calculations of government, by now fuel should be flowing. Ugandan fuel should be flowing in our in our fuel and in our petrol stations.
Yes.
But isn't.
But you have been following. You know, the oil politics of the world, the funding and all this. But we have struggled to sail through, and now it's on course.
How are we sure that when you go through the production and all that, we are likely to have cheaper fuel? After all, if you become a member of OPEC, which is another cartel, you'll have to sell at the OPEC price, which also means the fuel may not be at the price that we require.
At least we shall be getting it from Hoima, not Mombasa, you know. That transport cost, which is high, which is also a big cost. So, at least that one, we shall be sure of.
Yeah,
that's near. We are now net importers. We are now net importers of oil. It can be
near, but your production cost could be high. You may not be able to measure up like an organization like Aramco in Saudi Arabia, who have economies of scale. They can produce massively and even bring it near here, and it becomes cheaper. Haven't you seen goods here, foreign goods, that are cheaper than Ugandan goods, yet they are produced here. It is very possible.
But we have looked at all that. We have looked at all that. Obviously, we may not produce at the same price, like same cost like Saudi Arabia and the like, but at least it will be here, and I strongly believe it will be cheaper than what we are importing.
You know, many people actually went to the sector, invested a lot of money. Others took loans from banks, thinking because you had told them, given them some kind of timelines, by this time we should be doing ABCD, and they have lost quite a lot of money.
That's business. When you go into business, you should prepare for all eventualities.
So, knowing that,
because even
that the work at hand is actually not in your control, because Chinese and the French and whoever is involved, they can move at their pace. Even if they sign final investment decision, that's not in your control.
At least now,
how are you sure? How do you even give us a timeline?
Now we have already signed with them. There are penalties if you don't move according to schedule on both sides. And we are doing our part. We are fulfilling our obligations. They should also fulfill theirs, because there are penalties if they don't move according to our to the schedule which we have agreed upon. So that one shouldn't worry you at all.
So when do we see the refinery in Kampala, which is a place in Hoima, up and running? When do we see the starting of the building of the refinery? Because that shouldn't wait for a pipeline anyway. Yeah,
building will start soon, but what you should know is that oil will come out, I think, by end of 2025. We shall be having oil. We are on schedule.
So investments were done. What was your calculation of how much the barrel of oil would be? Because there's been such a fluctuation. By the time you started investment, the barrel of oil maybe was about $80, went to 60, at one point went even up to 40. Isn't it also possible that by the time you produce the oil, your calculations will not give you the dividends you need because the barrel of oil could have gone so low?
Obviously, the prices of oil, you know, they have so many dynamics. And I think we shall wait till we reach there. Oil has so many dynamics. And obviously there is OPEC, there is so many organizations.
Yes, I know.
Automatically, we shall also be members.
What matters most is when you are making your investment, you make your investment because you know maybe you have this quantity of oil and you're likely to be selling at a barrel of oil at this amount. And so you make calculations, say, if I invest this, then I can recoup my money. But then the barrel of oil keeps fluctuating, and it's no longer, it used to be at 100 plus. But we saw even 3-4 years ago, it came up to $40 a barrel. And if you have calculated that you think you're going to make $80 per barrel and it has gone to 40, then you can make a loss despite the investment you put in.
You know, business, when you go into business, you should be ready for all risks. An investor, an entrepreneur is a risk taker, and therefore you can't fail to invest that because you fear risks. Then you will never do business at all. Assuming now it's slow, and by the time the refinery starts producing oil, it is even 3 times. Why don't you also look at that? Why do you become a pessimist all the time? Whenever you go for any business investment, you must be optimistic that you will make profit. Business is not for pessimists, not at all. Business is for strong-hearted people, people who can take risks. Even this TV, setting it up, you may not know what will happen in future. So you can't say, I can't go into TV business because now even the adverts are not coming very well. Not at all. Go into it and go on the market and get adverts and produce good content, get enough viewership, and you make money.
Yeah,
so even us, we are going into this business knowing all the risks involved.
Yes,
but we must go there.
I was wondering whether you actually knew the risks involved.
There is many involved,
so are you
but
aware,
we are ready for those risks.
Are you aware that countries around the world are actually at a supersonic speed getting off fossil fuel?
Yes.
That some have actually put their targets by 2030 to make sure that they can wean themselves off hydrocarbons.
Yes.
Because it is dangerous to the world.
We are aware.
And at the moment when we are hitting our oil gold, that will be the moment when the world is switching to something else.
The world will never switch to something else. That one I have to assure you. I'm someone who is very much in renewable energy issues, and you know it, because I have attended most of the conferences on renewable energy. But oil, to go out of off oil, will take a lot of time. But you should know that also oil is something which gets exhausted. Probably by the time that when we reach that time,
after speaker at COP26,
yes,
speaker after speaker at COP26 was actually telling us how the world should get off fossil fuel because it's damaging, it's killing our world.
But it's even getting exhausted. It's not. It's a resource which will get exhausted. So we should start thinking about other things altogether. I have attended COP. Several of them, but as we look at renewable energy and whatever, we should know that we are still on oil for some time.
But how will it be of benefit to a country that has taken so many huge loans? Because it appears we have actually mortgaged our oil before we even get it out of the ground. Because we're choking on loans.
You know, if you see someone who has no loan, you know that one is a poor person. If someone tells you, you know me, I don't have a loan, I use my own money, you know that one is
and you're a poor person. And your rich person called Uganda takes some loans.
Yes.
And these loans, sometimes, they even if fails to use them, today Parliament was discussing taking back the money.
That's a different thing.
No, but that's what happens.
Yes, but
you get a loan,
yes,
and then you fail to use it, but then every day you are paying for it, the interest, and then the money is taken back.
That's a different thing.
But that's a
different thing, and
it has just been discussed in Parliament today.
Yes, yes, and me and you should see how we can put pressure on whoever is responsible to utilize that loan to utilize it. Let's all have collective responsibility to ensure we put pressure on our people who are supposed to use these loans to use them.
I mean, these are agencies, departments, and ministries of government where you sit.
Yes.
These are the people who ask for loans. Money is given, and they have no capacity to utilize. And then it is taken back.
Sometimes the capacity...
After that money picking a lot of interest that we, taxpayers, have to pay those interests.
Sometimes it's
almost
not...
a quarter of our budget will be going into loan service.
Sometimes it's not lack of capacity. But I don't know whether you have asked them why they have not utilized the loans. Sometimes conditions after acquiring those loans, but I think what we can do is, as Ugandans, we should now put pressure on whoever is not utilizing the loan to utilize it. But the issue of acquiring loans are acquired for a purpose, and good purpose. And good purpose. So we should now look at why are these loans not utilized? Why is there underutilization? I'll give you an example for instance. Under you, Smith, you come from Kabarole.
Yes.
I come from Kasese. Kasese was given money. Fort Portal was allocated money, Kasese and Hoima. And we were in one lot. And you know, contractors, Chinese contractors, have been fighting for 2 years. A contract was awarded to one Chinese company, and another one went for administrative review. It was sorted out. It now goes to PPDA. It is sorted out. It now opted even to go to court. 2 years. Contractors were just making life very difficult for these 3 local governments. Now there you will come and ask, why is the loan not utilized? Contractors, procurement. It was not even government, but procurement. 2 Chinese companies fighting. So those are some of the problems which we should look at. Why should 2 companies, contractors, delay a project for 2 years?
When you ask for a loan to construct a road, when you actually have no right of way on the place where you want to construct a road, and after the money is coming in, that's when you are busy negotiating that with whoever is on that road. Some people don't want to leave, and I'm wondering, why don't you acquire the road, acquire the right of way, and then get the money? Because you cannot.
Do you know that even some people change their mind? Ugandans, even after you have negotiated and you have handled them. I'll give you an example of Kasese Airfield. People were evaluated, they even received the money. Later on, they changed their mind that they were cheated. You're seeing it. So those are things which are coming up.
If everything is handled properly, how does somebody even change their mind?
Now those are the issues.
Because you are a government, you have something to show, you have proof, you have negotiated.
Yes.
Somebody has signed for their money.
Yes.
Then
they have signed for their money.
Enforcement for
then
them
again they go to court. Then it becomes a huge problem. But obviously, I also have to accept that there is corruption. It is there. That one I can't deny. And even the president has talked about it. You just meet people colluding with others to inflate even land which is supposed to be acquired. It's there. It's also giving us problems. So now, but we have now, all of us as Ugandans, to put our heads together and see how we can fight that monster. That one is there, and it's true.
But this monster, probably it's time for you to surrender. Because look, when the president came to power, almost 36 years ago, he came with the 10-point programs. And actually, I think it was point number 7 was fighting corruption. And it has actually grown. Instead of it being tamed or reduced, it has grown. I saw his efforts trying to work against corruption, but I don't think the working actually can help.
You can help. Why don't you help? Even you yourself, journalists, you fear to expose the corrupt. You yourself.
This is why I'm telling you that your 10-point program, Honorable Nabbanja, that for 36 years, you have actually failed. So it's an indictment on your government that you serve that you have failed.
But we are fighting. We are fighting it. And it should be a collective effort. You are an investigative journalist. But have you come out to say, look, this person is corrupt. Let us follow him up. Sometimes even when you come up, you want to remain anonymous. And there's nobody to go and stand in court to be a witness.
Well, you know, former IGGs, what they've said, that the corrupt are hiding behind the powers that be.
Which powers? Who is hiding them?
These are words that have been stated by judicial officials.
When
they are trying corrupt cases. And they have discovered that corrupt is at the highest echelons of government.
Is there any judge who has ever put someone in jail and some power gets that person out of jail? Because the judiciary is independent.
So if you know this is a big problem, why is it that you have not been able to go for the corrupt?
That's why we are putting there institutions, several institutions.
But this country is
to see how they can fight that.
The institutions are there, but the institutions, in fact, what they are doing is the hemorrhage of public resources by the money that you give them to do their work, but we would want to see money recovered. If money is not recovered, then the institutions are just taking away.
At least there are several cases which have been prosecuted successfully. Why don't you thank those institutions for that?
You know, the
First,
current Inspector General, not the Inspector General of Government, the IGG, the Honorable Oliver Kamya, says we are losing almost 10 trillion. 10 trillion through corruption. That was our statement. And Uganda's budget is like 40 trillion. But 10 trillion, according to the IGG, is lost through corruption. How much are we recovering?
Later on, it was corrected. Later on, she again corrected it. It was not 10 trillion, according to what later on found. He said it was 1 trillion. It was 1 trillion. But still, whether it's 1 trillion, whether it is 10 trillion, it's a lot of money. And me and you should fight it.
The chief executive of the country seemed to have suggested that since the people who are stealing the money and the money is staying within, maybe probably are not bad enough. That's the president.
I think you didn't understand him. He was saying it's easier to get them when they are within than if they took the money and invested it outside. It's easier to get them when they are within. But you didn't pick him properly.
No, that's not what he said.
Because if they invest it from within and they are arrested, you can easily get them. Instead of scaring them, then they start investing.
So the issue is that they shouldn't scare them to take the money out.
To take the money out, if you scare, they will go away. They will start investing out, and you can't get them. But if they are within, you will track them and get them.
So I think it was understood to me that if they are within, then the money is within Uganda's economy, and probably Uganda is not at all.
You didn't understand him very well. You didn't understand him very well.
So when these cases, when you have all these institutions to help you in fighting corruption, and yet corruption seems to be increasing, you wonder what else are you going to do that can give you the results that you require?
I think we should all have a deliberate effort to fight, and now we have people who are ready to fight. And I think it's a question of time. We shall defeat it. We now have people who are ready to fight. You saw our Honorable Minister Peter Gwang, Minister for Economic Monitoring. I think you had never seen a Minister for Economic Monitoring being vibrant like Honorable Peter Gwang. He's very vibrant, and he's getting them.
Meaning what?
I mean, moving around, catching those thieves. Now, what I want you to also do as a journalist and an investigative journalist, hard-hitting journalist, can you also now be vibrant? If you can come and tell us, I have made my investigation and there is corruption here, we shall go for it.
You know, those investigations are big.
It is a collective responsibility from community level up to the top.
How, first of all, you are a politician, and in most cases, for people to be given the mandate themselves, you know, corruption is exhibited during election period. It's not that money exchange hands between a voter and the politician. So to begin with, the leaders we have fallen short as the voters because the ballot has been exchanged with money. So our starting point is actually wrong. people who are supposed to be the moral compass of our country, the religious leaders, have fallen short of the glory. So the problem that we have is bigger than you think.
Now,
but it looks like it is even above your punching.
Now, I have admired that. You can now realize that corruption takes you to tango. Even society has become corrupted. Don't even talk about religious, even families. There's even corruption in families. A father goes to sell coffee, and when he comes back, he tells the wife, instead of 40 kilos, that it weighed 30. He has already slashed 10, probably to go and take a bottle of what? Of beer. So now, it brings me now to another thing now, a bit of national guidance now. And that's why our ministry now is coming in fully.
This thing of national, guidance. How do you guide?
To now guide people morally.
Honorable Kabyanga, you are the one supposed to guide the nation.
Oh, yes.
By the way, how do you guide the nation?
I will start by now guiding you.
Honorable Kabyanga, hold on to your point, because we are going to take a break. And on the spot, we'll be right back. But when we come back, I'll open the lines so that you too can be a part of this discussion. You'll see the numbers on the screen. Please pick your phone and call us and ask any question that you have. I'm sure Honorable Kabyanga will be able to respond to you. But should you be in disagreement with the minister, that's okay. That's the nature of debate. But disagree with respect. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guest tonight is Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga Baluku, who is the Minister of State for Information and National Guidance and also spokesperson of government. And we're discussing the oil crisis, but since he's also speaking for government, so we have widened the scope of the areas we can cover as a government spokesperson. This is the moment when you have the opportunity to talk to the Honorable Kabyanga. Maybe you have a question or something you want to tell him, and the numbers are on the screen. You can tell us now because the lines are open. I'll be taking the very first call online. Hello. Hello. Okay, as you look at those numbers, please call us and the minister will respond to you. You know, there is something that has been of an issue to most Ugandans recently, and that is human rights violations. And the way how people are arrested and the way how, you know, they are treated while under arrest. And I'm bringing the case of a gentleman called Kakwenza, who was abducted, I should say abducted, because the way he was taken. And for some time, his family members didn't have an idea where he was. His doctors could not reach him, neither was his lawyer. It's good that later he came up, but when he was seen, even the Uganda Human Rights Commission has now confirmed that the gentleman had been tortured. That's an indictment on the government that you serve.
I'm not going to go deep into that case because it is in court, but this government doesn't condone torture. And the president has come out clearly, has even written to security organs. One time he was on TV elaborating which letter is written and when he wrote it.
Let me maybe bring, I understand there are some Ugandans online who would want to listen or even talk to you. Yes. Just, if you've seen the numbers, let me pick your call online. Hello. Looks like we're having comms challenges with the caller. Yeah. Yes, if you're going to continue.
He was on TV elaborating and condemning any form of torture. So that's not a principle of the government I serve. So
is the president of Uganda something, you know, disregarded by his own officers?
No, because that's why they are institutions. If the president has said, please don't torture. If you have arrested someone, you can extract information from him using other methods and not torture. Do that.
Okay, hello. I have a call online. Hello. Hello. I have a call online. Hello. Okay. I think I'm having comms challenges with our lines.
That's why the Human Rights Commission is there.
Yes, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from? Unfortunately, can you repeat that? Because I had a problem hearing what you're saying. Okay, I think we have to cut that line. It was not very clear. You know, you were at one time a mayor of a municipality, Kasese. And there was a colleague who was also mayor of a town council called Kamwenge. And I'm sure you saw what I think was called Byamukama, what he went through in detention.
And he's my friend.
You saw the gory images, you see the suffering of how they knocked his knees.
I wish he could. I wish he could go to Human Rights Commission.
Well, this story is an old story.
And yes, it's an old story. And I rang him and said, go to Human Rights Commission, because that's not the principle of this government. And the president has come out clearly to say whoever tortures anybody, that one is indiscipline. And the institutions of government where you can go to get redress.
There are many people, especially young members of the National Unity Platform, who were taken away from their homes by, you know, the vehicles that have been nicknamed drones, and then not taken to gazetted places of detention, kept there for some time. Others came back with horrific stories. And it's not one, repeatedly. This has been done to many people.
When you come out and you were tortured, Human Rights Commission is there. You can even go for civil litigation. You can go to court.
You know, for a gentleman like Byamukama, life will never be the same again.
Yes.
Even if they paid you the money.
Yes. But at least you will have got justice. Life may not be the same again, but that person who tortured you will face the law.
Today is a police officer who has lost his leg, Robert Mokebezi. All he did was to do his work, execute his duties after a vehicle belonging to a UPDF officer had knocked. And just towing it to a police station so that it can be formally registered and a complaint is made, and if somebody has an issue with that, you can follow the vehicle and find it at Kakira Road Police Station.
And that was...
But you know what? The man was shot, and just yesterday his leg was cut off.
And that was very, very unfortunate. Personally, I condemn it in the highest way possible. And the army has come out to say they are looking for that officer. Today, Mr. Fred Nanga, the spokesperson of police, was here. He was on TV. I saw him. And he says CMI is cooperating to ensure they get that officer. And that officer must face the law. With UPDF,
but you know,
that one,
there are so many
must
people.
Be sure.
There are so many people who have suffered at the hands of the military, especially traffic officers, when they are doing their duty. If you remember the case of Esther Namaganda, the lady in Seta, who was just doing her duty and was assaulted by bodyguards of Major General Matayo Chaligonza. This is a norm. This what happens.
And I think she went to court. She went to court. And that's what I like. Because in the other governments, they wouldn't even allow you to go to court. You and me, at least as near the same age. And we have seen some of the governments where you couldn't even be allowed to go to court. Even the one who shot the policeman wouldn't be looked for. He would even be now loitering around. But now he's on the run because they are looking for him. Why? Because he knows he has broken the law, and the UPDF code of conduct is very clear, and I know they are going to handle him.
But it is also true that senior government officials, cabinet ministers, high-ranking military officers are in the habit of disregarding rules and regulations, especially on the road. I no longer understand why that almost every minister now, I don't know whether you was also the same, that you have turned your cars, you know, given sirens fitting in there, you're driving on the right, you totally have no regard for the man in uniform who is a traffic officer on the road. You. The people in positions of authority are the ones who have a high degree of impunity.
And you think that one is, they are doing that because they have been mandated by government to do that?
You have
they are breaking the law.
It's a sense of entitlement because you are a minister.
It's not any sense of entitlement.
And it's not all ministers, by the way.
Is it the traffic regulations? I think the traffic regulations, road safety.
I will sing out people who might know, people who follow the rules, are with us in the traffic jam, and maybe they are even senior. People like General Katumba Wamala, he will be there.
Yes.
People like General David Mhozi, he will be there.
Yes.
You know,
but
why?
And do you know why they are there now? They are at that level because of discipline.
So why don't you discipline government officials, commissioners, directors, everybody?
By the way, traffic police can arrest them because the law is very clear. There are some people who have right of the way, and the person in charge of traffic in police has come several times.
Do you realize the kind of impunity we have on our roads? And it's because of impunity that Mukebezi has lost his leg.
Oh yes, I know.
It's because many traffic police officers who are trying to do their best are being harassed on the road every day.
And I'm telling you that is wrong.
Have you heard?
I have not told you it is right.
Have you heard something trending called Gamba Nogu?
I have heard about it.
It is that impunity called the Gamba Nogu because you have that Nogu.
But
that Nogu is causing us trouble.
Patrick, you have identified those two ministers, and by any
who
standards,
seem to be exemplary,
and by any standards, they are disciplined officers, and that's why they are where they are. And therefore, I would appeal to any of the ministers. Let us emulate them. Because the cars which have right of way are known.
I think that is beyond you now as government.
No, it's not beyond us.
No, the impunity where it has reached, everybody has picked. And it's picking a cue from senior officers of government. So I'm not going to blame a border person for driving on the right when people who should know better are actually breaking the rules.
But also, I have asked, for instance, some people why some of these things are happening. Some of them are fearing to be on thick traffic jam because terrorists can shoot at you in that jam.
Wait a minute. Is that an excuse? They are running away. They are running away from terrorists. We are the terrorists.
That's one of the
excuses.
We the
people are the terrorists.
But what I'm saying, that shouldn't be a big excuse. It is indiscipline, and at any cost, it should really stop. It should really stop. But also, if you have space, and the minister has a siren and is passing, give way. Give way. Patrick, sometimes you should really have some bit of respect, you know.
You have told us there are very few people who have right of way. So why should I give somebody who has no right of way?
But the minister might be rushing away. Sometimes also you people are too rigid. The minister might be time bad. He wants to be on the spot. He's coming from another meeting. Give way. Let the minister
why
pass.
don't you plan your time?
Let him pass. Sometimes if you plan time,
I'm going to give you the respect that I'm not going to aid you breaking the rules and regulations.
No, breaking the rules is not good. But you can give way.
The respect I'll give you because you are a minister. But that respect does not mean that I should be abating somebody who is breaking rules. Breaking regulations, no.
Yes, but at least give way. Courtesy.
No, but you see, they are not actually even looking for giving way because they are driving on the wrong, they are driving on the right.
But that's wrong.
You know,
that's
some
wrong.
of these things, maybe they may look a bit, you know, on the periphery,
Yeah,
or maybe simple,
the population is
but
complaining.
there's a culture.
The population is complaining.
There's a culture that is growing in Uganda, and the culture of impunity. It could have started maybe on the road, but I don't know where it's going to reach.
The population is complaining, and that's true. And we have known it as ministers, and that's why I think people have to really live by example, because there are cars which are allowed to have the right of way, and they are well listed in with the road safety something.
The truth is, even the traffic police officers on the road, at this moment, you cannot blame them, because they have been overwhelmed with numbers of people who have total disregard.
That's true. That's true. I don't dispute that.
You speak for the government, and you see all these things, and you're saying that's true. We deserve better.
No, but me now, as a national guidance, I have to guide everybody. Actually, one of these days, I will even have to call cabinet and show them.
If people close to you are unguided, I wonder how you're going to guide people who are a bit further away from you.
No. I'm telling you, we have to guide the whole nation on values, on virtues, and we move as a country,
all right.
Disciplined country. We have to instill values, and the learning never ends.
All right.
Yes, it's not just for only local people, even you.
All right, Honorable Godfrey Kabyanga Baluku, our time is almost out. I'm going to be asking you to be giving us your concluding remarks on the show tonight. What's going to be your parting shot? Your concluding remarks, sir.
Yes, one, I would like to assure the nation that the issue of fuel prices is going to be handled. Trucks have started entering now, and I strongly believe in the next 1 week we shall have enough fuel, and obviously the forces of demand and supply will work and prices will go down. So let all Ugandans be calm. I would also like to appeal to the marketing companies, the distributors, to also put on a human face. As soon as the fuel is enough, let them reduce the prices as soon as possible. But automatically, the issue of drivers and testing has already been resolved. Now, the East African community has already agreed on laboratories in all East African countries where you can go test and that certificate will be respected. And it has also been agreed that the certificate should be valid for 14 days and not 72 days. So the issue of fuel crisis will be resolved. And I think that was the main point why we came here. And as a nation, this is a learning, as a government, this is a learning period. I think we are going to see now how we can look at stocking, having enough reserves so that such a crisis never happens again.
Honorable Godfrey Baluku, Minister of State for Information and National Guidance. Sir, I want to thank you so much for your time, but most importantly, for your insight on these issues. And for those of you who have been watching this program, I want to thank you for your great company. Good night.
Thank you.
God bless Uganda.